Hello and welcome. My name is Karan Sachdev, and it's my honor and pleasure to be moderating this very insightful discussion today. The topic of which is workplace happiness or happiness at workplace, and the role of real estate leaders in promoting the workplace well-being. Thank you all very much. We have with us a very eminent and distinguished real estate leaders as our panelists, and before we start, I request you to please introduce yourself. Start with you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Karan. My name is Rajesh. I work with CBRE, a real estate advisory firm. Currently in my role, I look after business development and key client relationships for the firm across India. And I also look after the Mumbai city operations as a city head.
Wonderful. Partha?
I am Partha Sharma. People call me Partha. I represent the interests of AWA, or Advanced Workplace Associates. This is one of the first companies based in London that kind of started workplace strategy and change management, and we've been doing this for 30 years or so now.
Hi, my name is Rajiv Sharma. I am Head of Workplace Management for NICA. Within workplace management, I look after real estate projects, admin facilities, HSE, and security altogether for all three formats of NICA in India and international altogether. I'm having almost 25 years experience in this particular field.
It's good, I think so. I'm the only person, in current scenario, though, out of the field. So I work for Microsoft, and I had that complete data center development. And we work for the cloud innovation and operation in AI, and 3 decades in the industry. So that's what.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you all for being with us here this evening, and it's a very important and relevant discussion, topic of discussion here today, happiness at workplace. And I think all the more relevant today as we see employees returning to office after almost 2 years of working from home, and then realizing that the workplace of post-COVID era has sort of evolved and changed as compared to the pre-COVID era. So, there are changes, and then, of course, both employees and the employers also realizing that, what an ideal workplace should be, is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity, right? That an ideal workplace that fosters happiness, right? So for us, I think that's a great, obviously very relevant topic of discussion. Starting with you, Rajesh, how do you think we can actually define workplace happiness or happiness at workplace, and is there a way to quantify it?
Sure, that's a good question, Karan, because I think we all as leaders are striving for that happiness quotient in workplace. In my view, to define happiness in workplace, it's determined by the workforce, right? It all depends on how engaged the employees are at the workplace, right? How engaged they are to the organization's goals, how engaged they are to the peers, to the colleagues, That's something that really determines, workplace happiness. Also, how self-driven they are, how are they bonding with each other, how strong is the collaboration. So if you see, these are the parameters that really determine the happiness quotient at workplace. Obviously, coming to the second part, which is, can we quantify? In my view, again, it's very difficult to quantify happiness because one section of your workforce, might find, their happiness, but it might not hold true for the second section, of the workforce, So it might not necessarily be the same for everyone. But generally, as I mentioned, again, the best way to quantify is how engaged your employees are in the organization. For instance, we at CBRE, every year we do an engagement survey. Right, and there are a set of predefined questions that asks employees about what are the things that they would like to change in the workplace, what are the things that they would like to change from HR practice standpoint, how likely they're likely to continue in the organization over the near term, And all these answers, are then, we had assigned weightages, and that score overall across India, in a way, the way I see it, helps us measure how happy, the employees are. And that also gives you statistics in terms of how does it compare from previous year, how well you're doing. Because if your percentage score on an average comes down on the engagement, that means maybe we're going somewhere wrong in terms of the happiness quotient, at the workplace. So that's one way where I see it, where you can definitely measure, the happiness quotient at workplace.
And have you seen some change happening pre-COVID versus post-COVID in terms of the criteria that you were measuring them against, or is that remained same? Any thoughts on that?
No, I see the emphasis on happiness only increasing. It was increasing even before COVID, but now it's even got further accentuated, the need, right? And again, the reason for that is because happiness, in all the surveys and research, if you'd see, is correlated to productivity, right? And even longevity of employees. If someone is happy, they tend to stick in organizations for longer.
Absolutely.
And they also tend to be more productive. And eventually that leads to creating more shareholder value, which is what all organizations want to achieve.
Absolutely.
And that's why there's much more emphasis from organizations on the happiness quotient. And COVID, as you said, has definitely not helped, right? There's been a lot of turbulence, and when people are returning back to office, it's even more imperative for management to provide that happy environment, for employees when they return back. And that's why now you would see, I've come across designations as chief happiness officers, happiness experts. They are consulting organizations which are only advising on happiness quotient as to how we can help you improve the happiness in an organization, right? So there is definitely a lot more emphasis on happiness, and rightly so.
Absolutely, absolutely, well said. So Partha, coming on, asking you this question, we're still seeing, obviously, people have been at home for a while, and a lot of them have got used to working that way. That's, helps them, look at the work-life balance, maintain their work-life balance. And so we are seeing resistance of, from the employees, not all, but some, of course, when I talk to, some of our clients, to say that, there is resistance. So are you, what's your thought on that? Why do you think there is, when we're seeing that, coming back to office is only going to help, give them more social interaction with their peers?
I think part of the answer is in what actually Rajesh said. He said that, happiness does not mean the same thing for all sets of people in the organization, which is so much true. I'm an introvert. I've been put on the spotlight here. I'm really, in the spot right now. But if you really think about workplaces, they're designed for extroverts. Happiness for an introvert may mean something else. Now, if you actually talk about this, this whole return to work thing and the numbers, I think Rajesh would agree that the numbers currently is around 30 to 40% in cities like Bangalore and Hyderabad. In Mumbai, it's a different story altogether. Mumbai, more people are returning. But again, it boils down to the fact that research after reports is saying that approximately 75% of the workforce will be millennials and Gen Z by 2025. So you're talking about that set of people, some who were hired during the pandemic, and they've never seen an office. They were told a story by their parents that if you study well, you'll get a good job, you'll get a good wife, you'll get a fancy car. This story turned out to be a lie. They suddenly realized that, we have a choice. We don't need to go to the office for a paycheck. And suddenly that whole sense of, of basically engagement, their whole sense of company culture has completely changed for them. Okay, so they see that I have a choice. Like, today it's the same thing as this event. People do have a choice of coming to this event or not for this event. But I think there's an overt stress in organizations to actually motivate people to get used to new things, and it's just too much. Just thinking about these new terms of WFH and all of that makes your head feel heavy, right? I think the focus really has to be about making things easy. I mean, I called you with the parking in this office. It's these little things, and this is not something just theoretical. I think a lot of organizations are now focusing on actually how do you make things easy for people. So if you're talking about flexibility to about the way you work, you really have to make it flexible in a relatable way. You can't say you're flexible, you can choose any seat. I need to be able to select a seat which is close to my colleague. Suppose he's my colleague. I need to be in office when he's there. I don't want to, go to office and do focus work and, being pulled into a meeting to do some collaboration which is meaningless for me. So we really need to, give things which are relatable for people, which are easy for people. I think that's where the focus is just about beginning to come now.
Sure. So Rajiv, just following up from, where Partha left. So employees coming back to office, do you think that helps, them, as far as the whole well-being and happiness is concerned? Because having worked from home for a while, coming back to office, does it really help in getting to a place where they feel socially active, they feel, back talking to their peers, having their social interaction? What are your thoughts there?
See, very, very critical question, and many of the organization doesn't have the answer of this. And the difference is, we need to go into the basics. Till the time you don't understand the basic of the human, why they want to come to office, how they can be more productive, what is the meaning of happiness, what is the meaning of wellness. The Gen previous and Gen Z, what we are talking about. The definitions for the previous generation versus this generation is completely different. If you want to create a culture, if you want to create a workplace, if you want to create an environment, you need to consider you have the previous generation also, and you are going to focus the new generation also. So what kind of hybrid workplace you have to design, which is attracting those set of people who are also coming to office and the new set of people also. See, we are human and we have our own body, and it is kind of like a machine. Whatever generation it is, the basics cannot be changed. I'm an engineer, so I can understand the basics with the machine learning. So machine has its own way of working, right? Definition for the previous generation is different than the new generation. Wellness is a complete different ball game altogether for them. Wellness for the previous generation is well from the financial, well from the health, well from the stress and all together. But for the new generation, they are doing something different to be well. Yeah. So if you are not going to understand well all those components and putting into workplace, which is attracting the talent to come and deliver their responsibilities. Yeah. And workplace again, how you are happy. You are happy if your expectations are met. So what is the expectation? Pre-COVID, the expectations were completely in a straight line. Post-COVID, bad habits grow very fast, and the good habits takes time. And that is the reason, during the lockdown, lot of people got various bad habits. Work from home, work from anywhere. So you need to look at the organizational framework. Why you are going to why you are going to work for an organization? Everything is driven down to a piece of paper which is called P&L. How you are productive there. Whatever benefits, whatever facilities and whatever features you can create for the workforce, everything has to be within that boundary wall. How to spend money, which is going to support the organization to be productive, to be profitable, to be future ready. And within that framework, what provisions you are going to create, that provisions are also going to meet the expectation level of the people. And again, meeting expectation has a critical component, you need to align the expectation as well. So you need to drive a lot of initiatives to correct the expectation, and you need to build the services and the workplace and the concept within the workplace, so that the new generation, old generation, everyone is coming to this workplace and they are happy. So till the time we are just going to understand, we are going to redefine the examples, we are going to redefine the processes, policies, and the the arrangements within the workplace. I think the people will not be able to come back to office. So this is the critical component. I think we as a workplace leader need to understand the definition which is coming from the decades are now not relevant. We need to redefine something which is going to long last and attract the people. And
Sure.
help them to come back and deliver their responsibilities.
Sure. I think you rightly pointed out on one thing that, the different generations have different set of goals in life, and different definitions of well-being, right? So, again, I think born in the 80s, I am somewhere, right in the middle of, probably a little bit of the point of view that, for us, when we started work, a physical office was always the place to be, to foster relationships, to find that mentor, to find that guide, to have a sense of belongingness in the organization when you go, meet, talk. But for the newer generation, that still could be true, but for a vast majority, for them, freedom of time has become, something that for them, that's the sense of, sort of freedom that they can achieve by managing their time. The definitions have absolutely changed.
Maybe it's about having control over a sense of flexibility. In the sense like for us, a lot of us, people talk about work-life balance. They switch off at 6 o'clock. This is a generation which does not understand it's always on culture. The first thing you do in bed is to check your office mail. You check office mail notifications also. But I think HR policies have been devised on the basis that at 6 o'clock you need to shut down. For them, the sense of work-life balance is about having greater control, like you rightly said it, Rajiv said, about time itself, and not giving HR policies which is based on 1986.
I think the organizations have to move fast and be future ready for catch up. That if we have to really retain the younger talent, then the policies have to be devised in a way that suit that younger generation's sort of way of thinking and the lifestyle, or the like you said, the freedom
There
of
is
time.
one critical point here. I think we all know the coin has two sides, head and tail. So though the expectation from the newer generation or the young generation is something, but that expectation is good for the organization, good for them as well. We also need to drive. It is not that they are good, whatever they are expecting, you need to fulfill. Whether it is suitable for the business or not, that also has to be communicated well. You need to align. Till the time you are going to educate your audience, till the time you are going to educate your employees, this is good, this is bad. This is good for you and for the organization as well, and this is bad for you and the organization as well. Work from home is not a right concept. You need to get up on time, you need to go somewhere out, you need to work for a time with a focused approach, then you need to come back to the home. So work-life balance, your physical activities, your mental stress, your mental activities, you are interacting with a lot of people in the office, or like-minded people you are going to get there.
Yeah.
Which is all missing if you are going to work from anywhere kind of concept.
Absolutely.
So maybe some point of time you are very productive, but you are non-productive as well.
Sure.
So who's going to quantify that?
So I'm going to pick on that, the whole mental stress piece, right? And I'm going to ask Abhay that question, that do you think the organizations have reached a point where they are addressing the mental stress that employees are bringing to them, and or the other way to put it is, are employees now able to approach their managers talking about the burnout or the kind of stress that they're in? I think there is, being from Microsoft, I'm sure the US companies are looking at that very, very seriously. Not that Indian companies are not, but then, I think things have, sort of happened in US and the US companies first, and then probably trickle down elsewhere. Your thoughts on it?
So to start with, in anything, I think so. What I say that when a credit card below is written, terms and condition. So whatever views I'm expressing, it's my personal view, not to represent Microsoft or any community, first of all. So very clearly you're right. You're, absolutely, it was earlier also. But after the COVID, I think so, we coined this term in much broader manner for the benefit, like mental stress or happiness or health culture. It was always there, but not in the same terminology was there, definitely. like you can call it as a coaching or modeling or, basically a mentoring was there. But now, especially with the new, what I can see the trend, I mean, if you do the research, last 3 years and especially last 2 years, definitely, as Rajesh mentioned, Chief Happiness Officer and all, now people are gone a step ahead. There are, in all the companies, if you see, there are proper, these are the, put in the benefit and the perks, basically, your counseling, your time off, your sabbaticals. And you can openly approach your manager, like your burnout. They even can go and tell, okay, Karan, I am burned out, I am working so and so time and I am not able to concentrate on my work. So I think so, in a way, it's also a culture which really, a transparent one, and it encourages employee to go to the manager and have a direct one-to-one. And it's really also keep the employees happy and they're engaged, that they're heard by the managers. And it's there in the Western countries, like multinational it was there, but in Indian companies also is coming. But definitely ILC, it's a good step. It's a good step. But again, it's a step can be only good when company take it seriously. The management, the leader, they walk the talk. That's very, very important. Because especially when your team is large, you can't, suppose you have 300 people in your vertical, you're developing a product, you've got a group leader, team leaders. How trickle down to below? The person who has just started his career and doing a SAP or doing some other product, investment product, he's working in front of computer for 12 to 14 hours. What do you think of it? Like he mentioned, even not even getting up from the chair, getting up chair or even eating food there sometime, or not walking out here. So what do you expect out of them? No physical activity. He can term it as a mental stress. They will not even come to know that it's impacting them, their own lifestyle. So it's not only the company need to be blamed. It's the individual also need to take into account that their lifestyle is also resulting into that. They're also contributing. And in that sense, I think so company is quite open now to take the entire gambit of it. Not only one part of it that because of my work, I'm getting the stressed out. Balance half is there. It's a two side of the coin. That's I think so. That's a very good thing which is happening nowadays, where it's taken in totality, and so people understand, and the new generation is smart enough to understand, both sides of it. Shad, you mentioned like people who born in 80s and like 70s. We always we never looked at that side. But the way you evolved, you to evolve, and every one of us is evolving every day because we need to, otherwise we'll be obsolete, we'll be in the junkyard, So definitely we also now understand. It's both the side of it. But I think so it's a quite an encouraging step and people are coming. They are very open. This generation is very vocal, very open, and it's a good sign because the transparent the culture is, it's good for the organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's the whole organizations are also realizing that fairness and respect are the two terms that have to be imbibed within the DNA of the organization if they really want to engage the employees, retain them for a long term. Without that, and until you create that atmosphere within the organization, it becomes very tough. You can only retain somebody for a few months before they start realizing that yes, the organization also views me, as an asset, right? They're treating me with fairness. To your point, I think mental health is one of those things, that is tough for anybody to go and talk because it's not something that comes naturally. Talking about that has still been a taboo, in our society. But when they see that, my peers or my bosses are supportive, they are also giving me that kind of freedom to express myself. I think that really imbibes and builds that confidence for the employee to go and talk about what they're facing or what they're going through.
You rightly said. People used to take the stigma and some sort of thing that what the other people think. But again, it depends entirely on manager and the management and how it trickled down. And how confident the employees are there that definitely I'll be taken care of if it is going into counseling of a company or personal counseling, something like that. And now I think so maybe in 10 years back it was not there, but now I see that change in the trend People are quite open, and I don't think so. Worldwide it's been accepted fact. And maybe in the developing countries coming up now, and it's catching up very fast.
In fact,
Not only the developing country, the recent trend, what is visible, and you can see in lot of big corporates and big organizations. So while defining the KRA of the employee, so they are going to put wellness as a component. They are going to put HSC, health, safety, environment as a component, and every employee has to score certain parameters. So if this is already there, the manager has to become leader. The employee has to talk and has to score. Otherwise, he's going to lose.
They have to walk the talk at the end of the day. You can't just put it at in a fine print.
Think park,
and you have to go beyond that and make sure that it really is followed and taken with all seriousness, I guess, is what you're trying to say. You were saying something. Right?
I was just saying generally I see there's so much more awareness, as Abhay also said. I think just a couple of days back there was this mental World Health Day. And
Absolutely.
On LinkedIn I remember a few years back no one used to talk, we never used to celebrate such days. There's generally a lot of awareness. Earlier for organization it was all about the physical side of well-being.
Well-being,
Right? Which was, people never used to talk about the mental side. But that's changed. You can see that clearly now, which is good.
Yeah. So, so just following up on that, you think a 4-day work week probably is something that will help going forward, that people have been talking about in the West, some in the Middle East. Is India ready for a 4-day work week?
If you take, it's going to be different for different sectors. It's not going to be a single policy, window policy that applicable to all the sectors. It depends on, in some of the sectors, it can be 2 days of work from home. But in some, where give an example, where the regulatory, issues are there, it can't be. Where the manufacturing are there, and other farmers are there, we don't expect them. Manufacturing is totally different ball game or logistic, maybe service industry is different. But definitely 4 days a week, provided that contribution expected out of the employee, it's been met with. Definitely, its definition of contribution can be different for different sectors. It depends on the manager. Second, what Rajiv mentioned, when the people are coming to the office, and I saw, a lot of companies, you go 8 o'clock, you touch down, half an hour lunch, 5:30 you close it, and you did. The productivity is quite good. So that's very, very important. And how many hours you're clocking in. But hours is also clocking in. If you're clocking 12 hours, but your contribution actually is 5 hours only, it's useless.
Sure.
So for my view, 4 hours, 3 days, 4 days, it's a number. It's management need to take a call with the employee and talk to employee face to face and say, this is what we are thinking of. And they can start a pilot and then see. Again, it depends on what management's objective. What is their top line, what is their vision, what they want, how they want to respect the time of the people. And few of the countries, Middle East has done, I think France is going on that, is done, and other countries also, Germany is trying that.
Sure.
And a couple of the countries I don't want to name it. You can't call your employees after 6 o'clock. You can't send an email to them. Definitely, it's their personal time. It's already been implemented. It's a law. And you'll be, as a manager, if you do it, you'll be asked for an explanation. That's there. And I think so, it's a good thing. But certain times, suppose in case you are leading a company, you are a CEO of the company, and it happens, and I am one of your direct reporters, you need to call me at 9 o'clock in the night. So what you'll do? So some sort of situation there. So it's not even cast in stone. You can say 4 days means 4 days. Guys, after that, employees say, okay, last 3 days in mine. So we have to see in the, a broader sense, applicability is there, but which sector, when, how, do it. The framework need to be pretty clear.
Well, as a matter of fact, just on a lighter note, on the, during COVID, we saw the other way. When everybody was working from home, everybody felt we can call the employee anytime he's at home. There was no line drawn.
But again,
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening.
You're right, but again, it ended up, you log in early and you log out late. But again, depends on you. It's again, both the side of the coin. As an employee also and as a manager also. And definitely that's there. And sometimes it's also interpretation, you got interrupted at the home. Definitely, I log off for 2 hours and do something, and it's a practical thing. It's not that we need to shy off this very clearly. But again, your point comes 4 hours. A lot of companies are giving you flexibility nowadays. It's not that you need to log in and, from 9 to 6 and you're there. You say, I'm out, on the Teams you put away and you drop a message that 2 hours I'm out somewhere. You come again, it's on you entirely. You come log in at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8, you work, finish your work. You done your bit as a contribution. You as a manager, you're done. Your care has been met. Your defined objectives are met. You can work 3 days also. That
True.
entirely depends on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just, so that's definitely one way of retaining employees, right? So Spartha, my next question would be to you. So what are some of the other workplace strategies you think the companies can devise to retain people for a longer term?
I mean, the verdict is not out, and I think it will be unfair for me to actually say that this is the magic pill. There's nothing like that. But I think what we've seen, and I think what you rightly said, this generation expects something else. And you spoke about logging in and logging out, people getting flexibility. To that, what I really feel, and what we're beginning to see in organizations, is that this habit, which is of getting things done very easily by being online, it's just a flick of a button to attend a meeting, right? If you call somebody for a meeting in Andheri East on a Friday at 5 o'clock, it's difficult. I mean, why will I do that if I can do it with just one click of a button? So people are getting used to that. Bear in mind, people are getting used to the ease. Secondly, it is customized. What Teams tells us that, you have a meeting on Friday at 3 o'clock. It reminds me 15 minutes ahead of. Physical world does not. So it's very difficult. So what we're beginning to see in organizations is this whole focus of motivating employees, giving them logical reasons to be back in office. To youngsters who are 22-year-old, giving logic does not work with them. And the focus is shifting to making things easy. So when we say about making things easy, because they're getting used to it, and people are talking about the metaverse and all of that as well, is like things like, okay, so you're giving them flexibility, but at the same time, you're making life very difficult for them. You're asking them to come 3 days in a week. Oh, how do I find a taxi on a Tuesday? How do I go home on a Friday evening if I have to be in office on a Friday? So the routine is disrupted, and we are all used to routine. We are used to pattern thinking. And when your routines are disrupted, your commute patterns are disrupted, your food patterns are disrupted, I think it's the responsibility of organizations to really make that easy for them. The people are talking about these apps. Okay, have options there so that I can walk to office, or I can get the right commute, give them free food, give them the right choice of food, make it easy for them. Furniture, somebody I met a few days ago, people are talking about wellness. He said, my table can turn into a bed in the office. I mean, why are we focusing on reinventing and, thinking out of the box all the time? I mean, keep it simple, KISS, the whole method. Keep it simple. We don't really need to think out of the box all the time. I think we really need to keep things simple, make it easy for people, and make it intuitive for them. I mean, don't give logic to 22-year-olds why you have to return to office because of X, Y, Z reason. It doesn't work.
So I think on a lighter note, what he said that furniture is actually more suitable for home, than for office.
So.
Because you can change the bed into a workstation at home than in an office to change the workstation.
But just for record, it was not me.
I know. I said you got it wrong.
I have a different side here to highlight. I think we all are talking about, whatever we are talking about is only for the employees. But the fact is, organization is also one parameter.
Sure.
Today, to deliver the organizational responsibility, they need manpower. And manpower has a choice, either you or him. So that is why we are trying to please employees. But consider one thing. There are a lot of startups. They were trying to become the unicorn. And a couple of days back, I heard now the new name is cockroaches. Yeah? So if organization where we are working, if that is not sustainable, or that is not going to sustain for the longer time or not profitable, then consider where the employees will go. So every organization is also a very big point to consider, creating any sort of framework. And at this point of time, the flexibility is the key. You utilize in terms of 4-day working or maybe 24/7 working. We need to go into the scientific reason, an employee to deliver the responsibilities, I think before lockdown or even before 80s, 90s or 20s, we used to go to office and the first 2 hours, 3 hours was just to read the emails, right? And then we were trying to do some activities, then some meetings, and by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, we used to wind up and go home. Today, your email is on your handheld, right? You are available 24/7. So by the time you are reaching office, your emails are all clean. Then what you are going to do? You are going to do some critical work like Excel, some PPT reports, some presentation, meeting with colleagues face to face. What you mentioned, like why can't we do, if the meeting is online possible? Why we need to compare? So we also did our meeting yesterday, but today we met face to face.
Yeah.
So that impression versus yesterday's impression. If you can consider both, today you are going to call me, I will recognize you. But yesterday it was not.
Absolutely.
Right? So how the world works, that basics has to be there in every discussion. Whatever policies, processes, whatever new way of working we are going to decide, organization has to be a critical pillar to consider its profitability, its working. If my company is going to sustain and going to survive, going to grow, then my growth and survival and sustainability is all there. Else I need to look at someone else. So the basic concept is the organization, its working, and how that can be translated in a flexible manner, flexible way to the employees to contribute. It is not they are going to contribute to the organization, they are also taking back to sustain their own well-beings and all.
I got a point here. We all talking about flexibility and coming 3 days, 4 days to office. I'll take you back. I did implement this in 2014 in one of my earlier launch in India, and management came to me, what is this? We did a pilot, and we did it, and really did it. Started with 1 day not to come to office, then 2 days. And this is there in European countries, and because I worked there for a couple of months around there. 3 days you have to go to office, 2 days we don't need not to. But we made a big issue. I'm sorry, I'm diverting, but we made a big issue out of it now. Hybrid model, employees are not coming to the office. It's there, it's prevalent. Almost now 15 years there. But now it's gaining more momentum because now employees, what I'm hearing, like they don't want to work entirely from the home.
Yep.
Not coming to the, but flexibility, hybrid, it was there. But definitely the expectations may have changed, on the percentage basis.
Okay, no, that's absolutely right. And so my question to Rajesh is, your CBRE, you see what's happening around, more as an IPC working with different companies. What do you think the trend is for return to office? And are we going to see majority of people coming back to office 2023? How's it looking like? Given there is no other COVID wave on the way, so God forbid, knock on the wood.
Cockroach wave.
In fact, what you ask, Karan, is something that I get asked very often. It's the most talked about subject, right? And everyone is talking about it, so is the media, which is return to office. We are definitely seeing a gradual progression, in terms of numbers for return to office. I'll be honest, at the start of the year, I expected it to be much more faster, than what it has been. So I'm a little surprised. We are a little behind in terms of overall percentages from a return to office perspective. As you would know, CBRE, has a strong property management practice, where we are managing more than 300 million square feet across the country. So through that team, I keep getting a lot of, inputs in terms of what is the return to office numbers looking like, and we can clearly see a pattern, right? There are certain cities like Mumbai, Chennai, and Pune, which are definitely reporting much higher return to office than compared to the other key cities. Like for instance, Bangalore. I think someone spoke about Bangalore, that the percentages are very low, which is true.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously, we all know that is because of the heavy dependence on the software and the technology
And bigger
side.
floor plates, IT, is that something driving?
So IT is the flavor, right? And IT is seeing the slowest return to office right now because the employees feel that they can deliver what is expected, right? As I think Abhay was mentioning about this, as long as I can deliver, what I'm asked to, then I should have the flexibility. So maybe that's where there is a bit of a conflict coming in, between leadership teams and employees. So because of which you're seeing cities which are more IT heavy, the return to office percentages are much lower, but I definitely see in the year 2023 the percentages to go up, and I think we should have almost like 3/4 occupancy percentages across India is my personal view, with of course hybrid being there to stay, and that's the reason why I'm not saying 100%.
Sure.
Because you're already, even in the software side, technology side, you're hearing, you're reading in the media a lot of the larger organizations, right? Your big ones like Wipros, TCS, they're already nudging, employees to come back to work because of obviously a lot of concerns around data security, confidentiality, moonlighting, on all kinds of challenges which are emanating because of work from, But there are certain sectors which are doing very well in terms of return to office, banking, BPOs, government, there we are almost seeing numbers which are close to 100%.
Wow, wonderful. Well, just to add to that, I think Bangalore also is going to lag behind because of, I think, the traffic that people want to avoid going, and that's obviously, I was talking to one of my clients and he says that right now when, people are still working from home, traffic situation, to and from Whitefield is crazy. So what happens when you call all the employees back to office? What's going to happen? Employees are going to say, hey, I'm going to not travel 2 hours or 2 hours back, 4 hours. I'm not going to waste 4 hours in traffic.
Isn't it we'll be also contributing to so-called, global warming?
Yeah.
If we call everyone to the office.
No, and that's what I'm saying. And he said there are two sides of the coin, and what he said is absolutely right. There is an employee's perspective too, right? Which is, if I can deliver what I'm expected to, right? And he said without contributing adversely to the environment, without spending 2 hours, spending that kind of money, why are you making me come to office? Absolutely. At the same time, from a leadership standpoint, I told you what are the challenges that they are facing. So I think the key lies, as Rajiv also said, is in being agile and flexible, figuring out what your job functions are, where maybe you need to be in office, how collaborative the role is, So I think it's horses for courses. You can't just, one size fits all approach. I think that's where it's heading. Yes. And offices, of course, are definitely there to stay. That, absolutely. I think there's no debate about it. But at the same time, hybrid will also continue.
One more thing, you asked me whether, the 4 days infrastructure ready. I'll ask in different manner. Is our city's infrastructure ready to support 100% people to come into office? I don't think so.
That's a good point.
Because as of now, the number of cars have increased in the COVID, and there's no restriction on and the MRT, mass rapid transport system is nowhere in the site. You take an example of Bombay. We are going to the office, that's fine. But what? 3 hours in a traffic? 4 hours in traffic? Where's the productivity?
Sure.
Same in the Bangalore, same in other. So that question also we need to ask. Suppose we call all the employees to the office 4 days a week, 5 days. Are we ready to support them in a manner so that we should not contribute to their physical and mental stress? So that also point is very well related to what we are discussing.
So this time, even the corporates also started thinking onto this line, and the recent concept hub and spoke model. So the bigger corporates are decentralize their operations. So they are trying to approach nearby to the employees area where they can reach easily. A lot of this managed space like e-work and smart work kind of setups are coming very rapidly, and membership programs are running very well.
True.
So it is not. Employees are also trying their best, and the corporates are also trying their best to come at a solution which is a win-win kind of thing. So again, the flexibility word is the key at this point of time. You cannot be restricted. Okay, no, I have a 1 million square feet area and I have built up office. then you have to come here, whether it is taking 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. No, they are also flexible because now they understood if we are not going to be flexible and we are not going to be available and easy for the employees to operate, we will not be relevant for them.
Absolutely. So we're almost out of time. Just to wrap up, I think some key themes that really stand out. One, a lot more awareness within the organizations, within both the employers and the employees as far as the whole happiness at workplace is concerned. I think mental wellness, well-being is a theme that's been driven across organizations. I think second, you can't take it for granted. I think the happiness at workplace is now a given. I think the employers need to walk the talk. Employees need to come out and support, right? I think it not only helps in the engagement part, but also in the long-term retention of the employees if they see that their employers behave with fairness and respect. Number three, I think trust is very important. I think that really stands out. And it has to be both ways. You cannot just expect one party, to keep doing and the other party not. And of course, return to office, I think, is something that's much needed. Though hybrid is here to stay, but I think we're all social animals and we all need to interact, get to meet each other and create that bonding, that sense of camaraderie. So those are the things I think that we all brought out. I think it was a very engaging session. Thank you all very much for your time. And thanks a lot.
Thank you, Karan.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.